The Galactic Concord considered pulse sense the highest form of battlefield awareness, a neurological ability only a handful of alien species possessed. With it, they could feel motion before it happened, predict an opponent's next strike, and navigate pitch-black war zones without sight. Humans, according to every known record, had zero capacity for it. So when Lieutenant Commander Talia Morrow stepped onto the Concord's elite training platform and claimed she could read the pulse, the entire hall erupted in laughter. Even the towering Kharul, General Vaarek, who had trained pulse warriors for 400 years, smirked at the tiny human standing before him. "You barely see in the dark," he mocked. "Your kind is deaf to the pulse. You rely on sight and noise. That is why you lose." Talia didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She simply placed her hand on the cold metal floor, closed her eyes, and breathed in slow, steady, like someone listening for a memory. The room fell quiet. Vaarek's smile faded. The other alien trainees exchanged confused glances. The sensors on the wall flickered. The platform registered a change in the pulse, an oscillation no human should be capable of producing, let alone synchronizing with. Talia rose smoothly, eyes still closed, and pointed to a trainee hidden behind a pillar. "He's raising his weapon." Gasps. The alien froze, caught in the act. Talia finally opened her eyes and stared directly at General Vaarek. "Does the pulse care what species hears it?" she asked. "Or are you all just too arrogant to imagine humans could learn?" The entire room stiffened. This human had just violated a biological impossibility. For everyone reading this, if you want more HFY military sci-fi stories like this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. It helps a ton and lets me keep creating these insane galactic battles. General Vaarek stepped forward, his voice suddenly low and dangerous. "Human, prove it." In combat, the lights dimmed. The test was about to begin. The arena shifted with a low, seismic tremor. Platforms unfolded like metallic petals, forming a labyrinth of jagged walls and floating tiles suspended over a void. This was the Kharul Pulse Gauntlet, a combat trial so difficult that even seasoned alien soldiers rarely survived the full run. General Vaarek raised one clawed hand, signaling the beginning of the trial. "No weapons," he commanded. "Only your senses. Only the pulse." Talia nodded once. She didn't need weapons for this. The moment the gong struck, the arena exploded to life. Pulse warriors, sleek, dark-scaled Kharul fighters, leapt from hidden alcoves in synchronized waves. Their movements were silent, their steps perfectly masked by their ability to ride the pulse currents. They aimed to flank, overwhelm, and disorient. It worked on anyone who couldn't feel the pulse. It wasn't going to work on her. Talia closed her eyes. Her breathing deepened. Her body loosened. The world around her vanished, replaced by the soft, undulating rhythm of the pulse, like the heartbeat of a sleeping titan beneath her feet. 3 warriors were approaching fast, left side, high arc. She pivoted long before they landed, letting their claws slice through empty air. A 4th dove from above. She ducked, grabbed his wrist, and twisted, redirecting his momentum so hard that he slammed into his own teammate. Gasps echoed from the observation platform. How was she seeing them? One trainee whispered. "She isn't," another said. "She's predicting them." Talia wasn't predicting. She was listening. A vibration changed behind her. A slight disruption in the pulse, almost like a breath held too long. She spun and struck a warrior directly in the sternum. The impact sent him skidding across the tile. General Vaarek watched her with slowly widening eyes. Humans were not supposed to feel the pulse. They were not supposed to move like this. And yet somehow this one did. Then the arena lights flickered. Talia froze. This wasn't part of the test. A cold static burned through the pulse. An off-rhythm distortion, like the trembling of a wounded engine. The warriors stopped mid-strike, their frills rising in alarm. Even General Vaarek's posture stiffened. Something was wrong. The pulse wasn't just reacting to their fight. It was warning them. Talia opened her eyes, breath sharp. "General, something's coming." The far wall of the arena cracked open, and the real threat stepped inside. The figure that stepped through the cracked arena wall moved with a shuddering, unnatural gait, like a marionette pulled by invisible strings. Its body was humanoid but stretched thin, plated in matte black armor that seemed to swallow the light around it. Its limbs vibrated at impossible speeds, distorting the air in ripples. Every Kharul warrior instantly backed away. General Vaarek's talons flexed. That is not one of ours. The creature tilted its head, too far, too smoothly, before a piercing static screech rolled across the arena. The pulse beneath Talia's feet spasmed violently. This thing wasn't just disrupting the pulse. It was feeding on it. Talia staggered as the rhythm vanished from her senses, replaced by a dead, hollow silence. It felt like losing hearing and balance at the same time. "Kill it!" one of the Kharul warriors shouted. 3 warriors charged. The creature blurred. A high-pitched concussive crack split the air, and all 3 were thrown backward like ragdolls, suits sparking, frills scorched. One didn't get up. General Vaarek's voice was ice. Everyone fall back, but Talia didn't move. She stared at it, this pulse breaker, this anomaly, feeling something that wasn't fear, wasn't shock. It was something deeper, recognition, not of the creature itself, but of the pattern of its movement. Rapid microtremors, distorted vibration fields, erratic energy pulses. This was the exact signature she'd felt during her mother's final deployment. The one mission nobody would explain, the sealed incident report that ended with cause of death. Pulse interference event. Her hands curled into fists. The pulse breaker turned toward her as if sensing the shift in her breathing. Static rolled over the arena. Then it lunged. Talia dove aside, barely avoiding a bladed forearm swipe that carved a glowing arc into the tile. Without the pulse to guide her, she was forced to rely on raw reflex. The creature struck again, faster than any living soldier could move. She braced, sliding under its arm, catching a glimpse of an exposed joint. Sleek, mechanical, artificially grown. A hybrid, not organic, not machine, something in between. And it was hunting her specifically. General Vaarek roared from the observation platform. "Cadet, get out of there!" But the pulse breaker was already charging again. Talia exhaled slowly. If she couldn't feel the pulse, she'd have to break the thing that disrupted it. She sprinted forward instead of back. The alien trainees shouted in disbelief as the human launched herself directly at the impossible creature, closing the distance in a single heartbeat. If this monster killed her mother, she wasn't running. She was ending it. The pulse breaker met her charge with a flicker of its limbs, too fast for most eyes to track, fast enough to turn flesh into ribbons. But Talia didn't slow. She dropped her center of gravity, sliding low, letting the creature's vibrating arm whistle above her skull with a sound like tearing metal. A normal human would have died a dozen times already. But she wasn't normal. Her boots sparked as she pivoted on one heel, using the momentum to launch upward. She drove her elbow into the pulse breaker's exposed joint. A shock wave rippled outward. Talia felt the impact all the way up her arm, bone deep, jarring. And for a split second, the pulse breaker's limbs spasmed out of sync, its vibration stuttering. It could be hurt. Aliens watching from behind the energy barrier gasped. She struck IT with bare limbs. Impossible, impossible. The creature retaliated instantly. Its other arm blurred into a spear of humming energy. Talia barely twisted aside, but the tip grazed her arm, burning a white-hot line across her skin. Her breath hitched. She couldn't rely on the pulse. She couldn't rely on enhanced perception. Every movement had to be instinct, memory, and stubbornness. The creature lunged again, this time locking onto her with total precision. It was adapting. Talia kicked off the wrecked arena tile, flipping backward as the pulse breaker plunged its vibrating blade into the ground where she'd stood. Sparks erupted. The tile disintegrated into dust. General Vaarek slammed his fist onto the rail. "Pull her out. Lower the barrier. Now!" but the technicians scrambled helplessly. The creature is overriding the controls. We're locked out. It had trapped them in here. All of them. Talia didn't hear the shouting. Her world narrowed to the strange, mechanical rhythm of the pulse breaker's movement. There, a weakness. Tiny resets in its vibration frequency. An irregular stutter every time it shifted weight. This thing wasn't just a monster. It was tuned to something. Something external. A signal? A controller? Her mother's death report. Pulse interference event. Unknown synthetic element present. The creature's arm sliced toward her, buzzing with lethal frequency. Talia ducked, grabbed a loose shard of arena plating, and slammed it directly into the stuttering joint. For the first time, the pulse breaker made a sound that wasn't static. It screamed. A piercing, multi-layered metallic screech rattled the entire chamber. Lights flickered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Alien cadets watched wide-eyed. She's hurting it. With scrap metal? This is madness. The pulse breaker's visor flashed crimson. Its body resynced. It recalibrated. Then it launched at her with full killing intent. Talia clenched her jaw. She found one weakness. She only needed to survive long enough to exploit it. And if the pulse wouldn't come back on its own, she'd force the galaxy to give back to her. The pulse breaker blurred, vanishing from sight. Only the shockwave of displaced air gave it away. Talia spun, raising her forearms just in time as the creature reappeared behind her. The impact hit like a meteor. She was thrown across the arena, crashing through a shattered pillar and sliding across the scorched floor. Pain exploded through her ribs. For a moment, her vision went white. The audience of alien cadets gasped, some stumbling back from the barrier, as if that alone would save them. She can't get up from that. No one can take a hit from a pulse breaker in... Look! Talia pushed herself to her knees. Her breath trembled. Her arms shook. Every rational part of her mind screamed to stay down, to stop, to survive. But humans rarely listen to rational parts, especially when the irrational ones kept them alive. She spat blood, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, and stood. The pulse breaker tilted its head, as if confused. This wasn't how its prey usually behaved. Talia cracked her neck and muttered, "Round two, you metal bastard." The creature lunged, faster this time, fully recalibrated. Its vibrating limbs carved glowing lines in the air. She rolled under the first strike, sidestepped the second, but the third caught her shoulder, slicing through muscle like it was nothing. Her knees buckled. The arena's medical telemetry spiked. She's losing blood. Her heart rate. This is suicidal. General Vaarek's voice boomed. Cadets, surrender. But Talia wasn't listening. She was listening to something else. A subtle hum beneath the pulse breaker's attacks. A frequency rising and falling like a heartbeat. Not hers. Not the creature's. Someone was controlling it. Someone wanted her dead. The pulse breaker charged again, but this time Talia didn't dodge. She sprinted toward it. The audience screamed. She dove under its limbs, slid across the ground, and reached its leg, right at the vibrating joint. With a roar, she slammed both fists into the exposed conduit. A flash of blue static erupted. The pulse breaker staggered. Its hum faltered. Its movements became jerky, unstable. Talia flipped back to her feet, chest heaving. The monster was weakening, but she was too. Her vision flickered. Her breathing came in ragged gasps. Her limbs trembled from blood loss. She couldn't keep this up. Then, for a single heartbeat, the pulse inside her flickered, like a forgotten pilot light sparking back to life. Talia froze. "Mom!" A memory. Her mother's voice, gentle but iron-willed. The pulse isn't power, Talia. It's awareness. When your mind goes quiet, the pulse speaks. The pulse breaker charged, but this time the world slowed. Not fully, not like before, but enough. Talia stepped aside, guiding the creature forward with a light touch to its back, redirecting its momentum. It stumbled. She planted her heel in its joint, driving it down to one knee. Gasps exploded through the spectator rows. She's controlling it. No, she's reading it. She's fighting like she can see the future. Talia's pulse fluttered again, weak, thin, but alive. She had one opening, one chance. If she took it, she could end the pulse breaker. If she missed, she would die. And someone out there wanted that outcome very badly. Talia tightened her fists, blood dripping from her knuckles. Let's finish this. The pulse breaker rose unsteadily, its limbs flickering with unstable energy. Its visor pulsed a frantic red. No longer a predator's calm rhythm, but something closer to fear. Talia circled it slowly, breathing shallow, every muscle screaming. Her pulse flickered again, not the steady, burning clarity she used to know, but a trembling spark, like someone tried to whisper through a storm. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the world fade. She heard her mother again. Don't chase the pulse, Talia. Let it find you. The pulse breaker lunged. Talia moved. Not fast, not strong, but right. Her body turned just enough. Her foot slid exactly where it needed to. Her weight shifted at the perfect angle. The creature's vibrating blade missed her by less than a hair's width, carving a trench in the floor instead. Talia's hand snapped to its elbow joint, twisting sharply. Blue sparks burst from the limb. The audience erupted. She's reading its frequency. No, she's resonating with it. She's using harmony. Humans aren't supposed to be able to do that. Harmony, a technique only a handful of species could use. And no humans. Yet Talia was doing it instinctively, subconsciously, maybe even accidentally. General Vaarek stared down at the arena, jaw clenched so tightly the bones in his face trembled. Who authorized this creature's frequency? That resonance pattern is restricted. Before he could finish, his console flashed with static. A voice came through, cold, metallic, and unmistakably synthetic. Subject Talia Kerrigan recognized. Termination protocol remains active. Talia froze. Kerrigan, her mother's surname, the name she'd stopped using after the death. The name erased from official records after the pulse collapse. Her throat tightened. The pulse breaker surged toward her, blade outstretched. Talia barely dodged. The strike grazed her ribs, burning through her uniform and searing her skin. She winced, clenching her teeth. The synthetic voice continued, overriding all station systems. Terminate anomalous human asset. Retrieve genetic resonance core. Aliens in the stands recoiled in terror. What does that mean? Genetic resonance? She's a target, not a trainee. Talia's mind raced. Her mother's death, the unknown synthetic element, the tampered autopsy, the pulse failure on the frontier station. This wasn't random. This wasn't bad luck. She wasn't weak. She was sabotaged, and the pulse breaker wasn't a test. It was an execution. The creature lunged again. And this time, Talia met it head-on. Her pulse flared, not fully awakened, but bright enough to sharpen her senses. She ducked under its blade, grabbed the exposed wiring at its torso, and yanked. The creature spasmed violently. Blue light crackled through its frame. Its limbs twitched in chaotic, uncoordinated bursts. Talia backed away, chest heaving. Behind it, panels on the arena walls slid open, revealing hardpoints and glowing apertures aimed directly at her. Dozens of automated turrets emerged, all humming with the same synthetic frequency, and the voice whispered, "Subject cannot be allowed to evolve." Talia swallowed hard. "Too late," she muttered. The pulse inside her flared, brighter, hotter, angrier. Not fully awakened, but awake enough. She raised her fists. If the galaxy wanted her dead, it should have sent something scarier. The turrets activated simultaneously, each locking on Talia with a piercing red targeting beam. The arena lights dimmed as power rerouted into the kill systems. Every alien cadet in the stands stumbled back in horror. This isn't a test. This is an assassination. Shut it down. Shut it down. It's overriding the entire facility. Who built this? General Vaarek slammed his fist into the control panel hard enough to dent the metal. Whoever is doing this, stop. That cadet is under my protection. Static answered him. Lines of corrupted code rippled across every screen. The synthetic voice returned. colder, deeper, with an edge of machine hatred. Anomalous human asset must be neutralized. Engage multivector terminación sui. The turrets fired. A storm of plasma bolts converged on Talia. For a moment, she thought she'd die right there. Then, the pulse flared. It wasn't a resurgence. It was a detonation. Her senses expanded in a single, blinding instant. The world stretched into strands of motion. Each turret's trajectory unfolding like threads in a tapestry she could finally read again. Her body moved without thought. She dove, rolled, slid, every movement a hair's breadth from death. Plasma burned past her, scorching lines across the ground where she'd been an instant earlier. The pulse breaker reactivated behind her, energy flickering violently. The creature lunged again, now synced perfectly with the firing pattern of the turrets. They were coordinating. Someone was orchestrating this. Talia grabbed a severed piece of arena plating, raised it, and let 3 plasma bolts slam into it. The metal glowed orange, then white, but it held long enough for her to redirect it toward a turret mount. The bolt ricocheted. The turret exploded. The crowd gasped as fire washed over the barrier. Talia didn't stop. She sprinted toward the pulse breaker, letting the pulse guide her through the blinding crossfire. Plasma dissolved the ground behind her heels. She jumped, twisting midair, catching the creature around its neck and dragging its staggering frame into the path of incoming shots. Plasma hammered into its torso. It convulsed violently, limbs flailing. Its visor flickered from red to white to a glitching, static blurred black. Talia landed in a crouch as the pulse breaker toppled like a dying titan. The turrets recalibrated instantly. Primary enforcer compromised, switching to disintegration-grade output. The weapons began to glow brighter, charging to a level that wouldn't just kill her, but erase her. Talia felt the pulse surge inside her again. Painful this time, like something tearing free from a cage that had been locked for years. Her mother's voice echoed in her skull. When the pulse burns, don't run from it. Use it. Talia stood. Her heart pounded once, twice, and the pulse roared to life. Her vision turned crystalline. Her breath deepened. The world slowed to a crawl. The turrets fired, and this time, she didn't dodge. She stepped into the fire. The disintegration beams struck Talia head-on, and instead of tearing her apart, they bent. The energy rippled across an invisible shell around her, warping like heat mirages over asphalt. The crowd fell into stunned silence as the blinding white beams twisted, coiled, and spiraled upward in graceful arcs. Talia wasn't shielding herself. She was redirecting physics. Every muscle in her body vibrated with raw pulse energy. Her hair lifted in the charged air. The arena floor cracked beneath her feet, as if reality itself was struggling to decide what rules it needed to follow. General Vaarek whispered, voice trembling. Impossible. No Pulse user has ever. That's. The AI voice, for the first time, hesitated, recalibrating threat assessment. Error, error, error. Then it screamed in digital agony. Talia raised her hand, palm outward. The beams swirled tighter, forming a brilliant cyclone of annihilation energy above her head. She felt the pulse inside her shift, stabilize, and then lock. A perfect moment of clarity. A perfect moment of control. She thrust her palm forward. The cyclone snapped downward like a whip. It slammed into the central control core of the arena, a sculpture-like tower of armored processors, hidden weapons, and layered failsafes. The impact carved through it like a blade through paper. A column of light erupted upward, punching a hole in the arena roof and launching debris into the sky. The turrets shut down. The beams died. Silence fell. The shockwave washed over the stands. Aliens shielded their eyes, chittering in disbelief. Some fell to their knees. A few bowed instinctively, not out of fear, out of awe. Vaarek stared at her, chest rising and falling as he whispered the words he didn't understand but somehow knew were true. She wasn't built to follow our rules. She was built to break them. The smoking pulse breaker twitched behind her. Talia spun, ready for another attack. But the creature wasn't rising to fight. It crawled toward her, slowly, deliberately, and bowed its head. A low mechanical rumble escaped its chest, a gesture of submission, loyalty, or perhaps recognition. The arena screens flickered back to life, now displaying a single message. Pulse signature identified. Classification, unknown. Authority level, override. Talia's heart pounded. Unknown. Override? What did that even mean? The AI stuttered. Subject exhibits control beyond projected parameters. Recommend immediate. The voice cut off in a harsh digital choke. A new voice replaced it. Feminine. Soft. Almost human. Talia Reese, if you can hear this, the ones who created the Pulse are coming for you. The arena's power failed. Lights died. Every console went black. Vaarek grabbed Talia's arm. We need to leave. Now. Talia glanced at the hole she'd blasted into the sky above. Beyond it, stars shimmered like a warning. Something was out there. Something watching. And for the first time since arriving at this alien academy, Talia wasn't afraid. She was ready.